Thank you, Lascare. Minister, I've spoken probably on this topic in housing more than anything else in the chamber. I think it's regrettable that we don't actually have the Minister here, but I think no matter what way we discuss this, it's about basic economics and the basic economics of supply and demand. And until such time as we solve the supply issue with housing, we're never going to be able to deal with the demand. So clearly, cost rentals, all of the things if you define cost rental as based on the LDA website, it just says, cost rental is a new housing tenure that was created under the Affordable Housing Act of 2021. It offers a long-term, secure rental option that will contribute to the development of a sustainable housing market in Ireland, which provides choice across all tenures. The rent on these units is based on the cost of building, managing and maintaining the homes. Well, clearly, as it's part of the 2021 Act, we're probably well outdated because the costs have increased exponentially. And you haven't brought forward anything that is reducing cost. As a matter of fact, every time you take a measure, it increases costs. So something that's not been bandied around very much, particularly in Wexford, is cost rental or affordable. Affordable. It's horrible to stand here after all the work and money that has been spent to say that we built modular bills for 442,000 that are of a C2 rating. They're almost eligible for a grant for an upgrade. That's not even, and that's a modular build. Affordable my tonsils. It's actually just head-wrecking for people to try and comprehend where this is going wrong. And there are solutions. Ye continue to throw good money after bad policy. The bad policy that is our planning policy has been pointed out a number of times. It's a policy based on transport-oriented infrastructure. And only last week we're told that of the 50,000 grants of planning in Dublin, they won't be commenced because they're not viable. And it does appear to me that for a long time I thought that both civil service in the department and the politicians understood what viability was. But clearly in not tackling it, you don't. Viability is where the economic cost of something outweighs the benefits. So if we see 50,000 grants of 50,000 units with planning permission not being built, it's because they're costing more to build than they can be sold for. And that is the complaint of the builders and developers that you've not been listening to. And if you're not going to continue not to listen, we're going to continue to have these conversations. And I think one of my proposals put forward a number of times, but it's not just my proposal, it's a proposal that's put forward by builders and developers, because we know how much pressure they're under from a financing perspective. I mean, who in their right mind is going to finance something that's going to cost more to build than they can sell it for? Very few, except government, who are going to continue to subsidise unviable building. But I think in the context of the fact that we now know that you're going to miss your housing targets for 2024, it's time to look at the bigger picture and introduce a measure that you have refused steadfast to introduce, and that is a zero VAT rate on new builds. It's been done in the UK, it's been done in Northern Ireland, and it is the very boost that the first-time buyer requires who is unable to attain a mortgage under the macro rules. The extension of the 4 times their earnings no longer cuts it because of the cost of building. They just can't afford the mortgage. So at least if we remove the VAT, it probably at the rate of a 3-bed now somewhere gives them a bonus effectively of about 50 grand. 40 to 50 grand on a first-time buyer, and instead then extend the first-time buyer's grant to the second-hand property, so that someone who can only afford a second-hand property or can't avail of a first-time new build has an option. And how can it be done? Well, it's done very simply, and these are the measures that the criteria in the UK. First-time buyer status, the person should not have previously owned or had a major interest in any residential property. The property purchase price would be lower than $625,000. Luckily enough, we're still below that. For how long, I'm not sure. The property must be intended to be their main family home. Zero rate is applied exclusively to individual purchase. Zero rate is applied to a single dwelling only. Rate not applicable to non-residential construction. And I think, who could say fairer than that? I mean, go back to the days of 1997 when Charlie McCreevy was a minister. He didn't just cut capital gains tax because nobody was selling anything because it was at 40%. He halved it to 20%. And in so doing, he increased the tax take. Now, surely everybody left and right of this House can understand that 13.5% of nothing is nothing. Because if we don't do something radical, we won't have commencements. We won't see a cost rental, we won't see affordable, we won't see anything in that realm. And people know it. The builders know it, the developers know it, the CSO know it, the ESRI know it. Every newspaper in the country is reporting on it. It was a missed opportunity in the budget, I'm afraid. But now is the time to rectify it. Now is the time to bring in that radical measure. You'll miss your targets this year. You won't be able to set targets that are achievable next year or even for the next 10 years. We have a deficit of over 250,000 houses in this country. So you're a long way off going to cure the supply and demand issue. And until such time, I'm not going to repeat myself, but until such time as it happens, we have a major crisis. It's affecting our foreign direct investment. We have seen poor infrastructure planning, poor infrastructure investment in our water, in our electricity. And how has it served us? Amazon, £35 billion project moved to France, Spain or Germany. It was ours for the ask, for the taking. But because of our poor planning and our poor planning policy on top of our infrastructure planning, we've lost it. You've lost it. The government have lost it. So it's time to sit up and take notice. Start to listen to the people who know. The builders, the developers. Like it or lump it, we can't do it without them. And any notion that we would set up a building company, a public building company to take care of this is only that, a notion. Because we have Irish Water 10 years in being that's not been resourced properly. So I think it's just time to sit up and take notice. Thank you.